Welcome to Art Ed Radio, the podcast for art teachers. This show is produced by the Art of Education University, and I'm your host, Tim Bogats. I'm not sure how much I have talked about this on the podcast, but I'm not a huge fan of social media. I only go on Facebook if the job requires it, and I have an Instagram account that I literally have never posted on, but I do enjoy Twitter. I'm not on there a lot, but I do scroll through every once in a while to see what's happening. And a couple of months ago, I came across a really cool post by Lindsay Anderson. She's at Artful Anderson on Twitter, by the way. And it was about playlists in the art classroom. And she had tweeted about that. I read an article that she wrote about that. And I reached out to Lindsay, and she's going to be my guest today. Now, when I read her post about using playlists, and these are not playlists in the sense of one song after another, in case that's where your mind was, they're more of a guide for students, kind of helping them navigate from the beginning to the end of any particular project. And I looked at them and thinking, this is a great way to organize the creative process. It's a great way to give students autonomy. And so seeing the examples that Lindsay shared on her website, they were really well done. And the way she designed them just kind of hit all the points that resonate with me as a teacher. There's student independence and autonomy, like I said. There's choice within a defined structure. There's a chance for exploration, the opportunity for skill building, and the opportunity for students to make connections. Just a lot of great things happening. So I'm looking forward to discussing with Lindsay everything involved with this idea. So let me go ahead and bring her on the podcast now. All right, Lindsay Anderson is joining me now. Lindsay, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thrilled to have you on the show for the first time. I feel like I've followed you on Twitter for years and years now, so I'm glad we can finally
hear. Someone's looking at it.
Yes, but I'm glad we can finally talk. But before we get started, can you introduce yourself and tell us about you, your teaching, your interests, what you love outside of school, just whatever you would like to share?
Sure. So my name is Lindsay Anderson, and I teach in Frederick, Maryland. I have taught for, I believe this is my 13th year, 11 years at the middle school level in two different counties, but the one county was just like a little 2-year stint down there.
Yeah.
And then we came back home to Frederick County. So I started in Frederick, ended up in Anne Arundel County, and then we're back home here. And now I'm at Frederick High School, which it's definitely home for me. It feels so good. I'm absolutely loving the high school level. So I don't see myself going anywhere but high school, staying here, of course. And so I'm a wife, a mom. My husband is also in education. He's the chief academic equity and something else, big title in a neighboring county.
Something very fancy, right?
Something fancy. But anyway, so we've immersed ourselves in it. I have two little ones. One is 19 months. Her name is Rain, and I have a 4-year-old. His name is Kai. We ended up with some watery names, kind of by accident, but it worked out. And then we have a dog, and
I have to ask, what kind of a dog? Because I love dogs.
Well, he's a Dachshund Beagle mix, and he's 12. He's pretty much the cutest dog probably in the world.
I can imagine.
So, as you can imagine with two little ones, time spent outside of school is very busy. But not only do I teach, I also have a small online art business where I also sell my work. Well, I sell my work online, and then I also sell it in retail spaces downtown.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I wanted to have you on today to talk about the idea of playlists. This is something that you've been sharing that I think is really intriguing. I think has captured the attention of a lot of people. But can you explain kind of what a playlist is and how you use it to guide the creative process for your students?
Yes, absolutely. So I just want to preface all of this with I know, this year has been, it's a difficult year where we're in a
Yes.
post-pandemic, post-ish pandemic situation, and we're getting students reacquainted with a normal learning experience, a normal school day. So, you know, people often shy away from things that seem challenging or new, and
Hmm.
I think that that's warranted in this situation. Simplify. But I truly believe that a playlist, especially in the art classroom for art teachers, is just such a great resource, and I think it can help in this situation. So I guess the official definition of a playlist is it's a sequence of resources or activities for students to complete. So I really feel that playlists are a great resource for art teachers, especially because of sort of the way we plan. We plan by unit or project typically. So what a normal art project might look like is a hook or a challenge, get the students interested, explore a concept, a historical topic, an artist, a medium, a famous painting, any of those things. And then they probably move into some brainstorming of ideas about what the project is going to look like, rough drafts, thumbnail sketches, things like that.
Hmm.
Also, after that, probably moving into a skill building session, exploring different mediums, exploring different techniques, and working through those and just getting comfortable with them. And then, of course, the students are going to create their final studio project, move into
Right.
that big
Right.
project piece. And then a bunch of things can happen after that. You could have a peer critique, or you could have a self evaluation, or the students could be writing an artist statement.
Hmm.
They could be presenting it in some way. And then often we have some extension activities for students who, need to be challenged, or some students who just, finish things early. So
Yep.
that is actually how I guide the creative process in my playlist itself. So my playlist follows, the process of, and there are headings, and it is explore, design, skill building, create, reflect, present, and extend. And those are the different sections. And then there are learning tasks and activities and things inside each one of those
Hmm.
sections. Um, so that's really, what it looks like. And not only is a playlist a great guide for students, it's also a planning resource for us as teachers. It keeps all of my ideas organized. It keeps all of the, smaller activities, things like that. It's all in just one live Google Doc
Yeah.
and formatted in a nice, pretty way.
Which is important for us as our
Absolutely.
teachers. So,
Absolutely.
now I assume, within each of those sections with explore and design, skill building, students have some choices in there. But did they ever have trouble like navigating the playlists? Because I don't know, it seems to me like it might be something that kids are struggling with if you just leave them on their own and say, hey, work your way through these requirements. So I guess that's a long way of me asking, like, how much do you guide them? How often do you check in with them? How
Mhm.
often are they checking in with you or turning things into you as they make their way through these playlists?
Yes. So I can honestly say that the format of the playlist that I used, it has been modified several times based on what my students need.
Yeah.
And I think that people have this preconceived idea about playlists that you can kind of give them to students and like just
Just
let them
say,
go.
go,
Yes,
you
here you
guys
go.
go.
Here are all your activities. And that is absolutely not how I use them in any way, shape, or form.
Hmm.
They are a great guide for students. It personalizes the learning for students in so many ways, and it frees up my time to work with them one-on-one in small groups nonstop. So yes, I would say if I gave them this playlist and said go for it, they would probably have a lot of trouble navigating it. And I faced that in virtual learning because a lot of the students were working asynchronously and they
Right.
needed that support.
Right.
So what I ended up doing was I would create screencasts of just me going through each section and just going through the directions with them. But now, since we're back in the classroom, I make sure to have a daily agenda up on the board every day, and it pretty much, tells them how to stay on pace with the
Hmm.
playlist. And then, of course, if there's a question, I am available to answer it. If they have,
Right.
an issue navigating an activity or not knowing which link to click on, I can support them with that. So it's great for the students who can take it and run with it. And it's also a
Mm.
great guide if I say, so I don't have to answer the same question 45,000 times a
Yes.
class. I can say, please, look at the skill building section, and there are some tutorial videos there for you. I typically will do must do tutorials or must do
Hmm.
activities and then some may do activities. And then those may do activities might be for the struggling student who needs a little bit of extra practice. So, yeah, I mean, it does, it supports them, but I definitely have to guide them through it, especially in you know, trying to support their executive functioning skills right now because the last time they were in a normal classroom situation might have been 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't use it as a substitute for me. It's a guide, it's a support.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
So can you give me an example of just sort of the must do or the can do activities? Like, I don't know what the best example would be, but just maybe something you're using now, like just so teachers can envision this. Like, what would that look like? What are you giving to your kids as options for
Yeah,
must dos and can dos?
definitely. And actually, just going back just for 1 second, you asked if they were checking in with me and how
Yeah,
often.
yeah.
That happens nonstop. It's always a check-in process.
Right.
And in the playlist, it does say stop and check in with Mrs. Anderson,
Okay,
for
that's
this type
awesome.
of thing. So
Yep.
so they are checking in with me often. But anyway, so as far as like must do and may do activities, most of the time they fall within the skill building section. So I might have some activities just based on different skill levels. Like if I already know my students and I know that they're going to struggle with just observational drawing, there might be some observational drawing tutorials. If I know that they're very good at drawing and need some extra help with whatever medium it is we're going to be using, then that might be a may do. But again, it's kind of, I can add and modify this live document as needed. So if
Yeah.
I find that students are needing specific practice, I can add that at any time. So um, the other part of the playlist, which I don't want to get too far into it, but there is a lot of choice as far as subject, medium, technique,
Right.
and
Right.
the playlist might have those different pieces in there as well. So it might sound like a lot of work up front, but the benefits certainly outweigh the challenges of creating all of this because, like I said, you can modify it as you go. If you don't quite have your, reflection piece of the project ready to go, add it later when you're ready
Yeah.
for it. But that live document is just a really nice organizational piece.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And kind of in that same vein, I wanted to ask you, how things have changed for you since you started using these playlists. Like, have you noticed any differences in your classroom since you started using playlists, either in, the student work that you're getting, the classroom environment, or just from your end as the teacher? Like, what kind of differences have you seen?
Yeah. And this is why I love them so much because I feel like my students feel supported and I feel
Mm,
like they know that if I can't help them right away, there's probably something in this playlist that can help them or they can
right.
review a piece of it. I also feel like they feel a little bit more respected, like they can handle moving forward at a pace that might be a little bit, you know, faster than what the rest of the class is moving. So, and then even the extension piece, extend is the last section of my playlist. So there's always something there. Maybe it's an extension menu, maybe it's a choice board menu for students there. So I feel like they feel organized and they know what to expect each day.
Yeah.
I guide them. They also have this piece of the puzzle. So I've seen, and I feel like I have just like the relationships that I can build in my class. It's because of having this playlist choice board situation going on, because I can spend my time with them. I can spend my time talking to them, working with them, pulling a small group up. So yeah, lots of changes. And like I said, it sounds like a lot, but it's really not. It's already what we're doing as art teachers. We're already doing all of this. We're just not putting it into a live document all the time.
Right.
So it's just, yeah, it's a huge benefit, I think, in my classroom.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and I love the idea of having individualized check-ins all the time where you're working with kids as they progress. You have a much better idea of everything that's going on with every student. Like you said, just all of those opportunities to talk with them throughout the process. So I think that's a great thing. So, and I guess for art teachers who want to try out a playlist, like, can they find where you've put this together? Like, have you shared these things? And can you tell us where to find those? And also, once they do find those, what advice would you give for teachers who are just getting started with the idea of playlists?
Yeah, definitely. So you can find me on Twitter at Artful Anderson. And I often share the blog posts that I write about these topics. And I recently wrote a blog post about playlists. And actually, you can see the model and the format that I use. It is on that blog post. The website itself is artfullyblended.com. And it's under construction. It will probably always be under construction, but the blog is there, and you can see some of the student work and everything that goes along with it. But I also provided a few templates that people could just click and copy and make if they feel so inclined. And then as far as advice for people who want to give it a go, just start with one project. Just start with one project. Maybe it's a project that you're going to do later in the year, so you can start planning it now. And then I think once you see how organized and, just how it all fits together, I think you'll probably want to do more of them, because it's kind of addicting to know that everything is in one place. And because we often teach the same class multiple times, so it's easy to get confused. Like, did I do that demonstration with this block, or did I repeat myself here? But this really it puts it all into perspective for us, and it's just a great student-facing document.
That's awesome. Well, Lindsay, thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing your idea. I appreciate the conversation, and hopefully some teachers can give this a try, because I think it's a great concept and a great idea for teachers and students alike. So thank you for sharing everything with us.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
I hope that if you're interested in the idea of using these playlists, that you are able to check out the resources that Lindsay has put together. We will link to her Twitter account, as well as a couple of examples of playlists. So make sure you take a look at those and see if those are something that can work for you or something that can work for your students. I appreciate Lindsay being willing to share all of those things, as well as giving us some time today, and hopefully giving you a new idea that you can take back to your classroom. Art Ed Radio is produced by the Art of Education University, with audio engineering from Michael Crockett. Thank you, as always, for listening, and we will talk to you next week.